What's up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Brown Ballers Pod. Today, I'm very lucky to have an ally of the Brown Ballers platform for many years. Just go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure, what's going on, guys? My name is Mathushan the head trainer and CEO of Underdog Athletics, so happy to be here.
So Underdog has meant a lot to Brown Ballers for a long time. Just walk us through what Underdog is.
Yeah, so basically it's a training platform I started about 5 years ago now almost. It's all about developing young basketball players, older, younger, doesn't matter, from elementary school all the way to the pros. During that, I've got to meet a lot of different players and, of course, a lot of like South Asian players as well. So it's been a good thing just working in development, coaching, the strength and conditioning side. That's what we focus on, the mental side, watching film. So as I've been doing it, it's been good. Like if I'm not playing, it's the best thing I got. So
Yeah. So you used to play.
yeah.
Where did you play?
I played at the University of Toronto, Mississauga for 2.5 years, and then COVID kind of cut it short. But before, like when I was younger, like I remember being 13 and already starting to train like my friends. Like just so like around this time it was big, like the Lakers were big, and I always thought I was Kobe. So like I would always work out my friends so I could have like a Pau Gasol.
Yeah.
So I started at a young age, like 13, and I kept going. So when I realized like if I'm not going to play pro, I kind of had the idea I could like training would be the second best thing.
And where does the name like Underdog come from?
It just represents me and who I am and what I stand for. Like I've always been underrated, you could say, like as a brown guy, it happens naturally in basketball. Size always hurt me, but I always worked as hard as anyone, and I took that from playing all the way to coaching and training. So it just resonates with me. It's always like not having the odds in your favor, but trying anyways. So it's just really who I am.
When you say you've been training guys for like 5+ years, if not more, you deal with a lot of South Asian players and non-South Asians. Like when it comes to training or like player development, is there anything different in terms of how you approach South Asian athlete training, like in terms of diet or on court, or is it literally the same and we don't need to create this like barrier?
No, man, it's actually true. Because I went through it, I have more personal experience for them. So I train like a lot of young, like South Asian guards right now, and I tell them what hurt me going to university was not hitting the weight room, for example, early enough, because your visual is kind of your resume for coaches. And South Asians, not all of us are blessed to be big and strong. So I tell them, like, for example, hit the weight room more or play with heart, be vocal. Like things like this are specific that I make sure South Asian players know at all times. Yes, I provide this to everyone as well, but it's because I went through it. I tell them like, yo, trust me, you need to be the loudest player on the court, or you need to get stronger, or like you need to be able to pass the ball, shoot the ball at a certain level just to make it. You know what I mean? Because I worked so hard just to make a team. Like I know how hard it is. So I try to give them that personal experience.
That's actually really interesting because I feel like I've actually asked this question to different people in like the basketball or sports ecosystem a lot. And the answer kind of differs, but you don't really get a great answer for like, do you treat or approach brown athletes different than others? When it comes to like the grassroots elite levels, pros is obviously different. So you say you do different things. Like, why? Like, what's the reason for that? Like you said, vocal.
Yeah, being vocal is a big thing. Like for me, it was the weight room. Like I remember, I'm not trying to expose my coaches over here, but I remember there was a story I had a good exhibition game in university, like whatever a good game is, maybe like 15 points, a few assists. And my assistant coach came up to me and he like grabbed my arm and he started squeezing it. And he was like, if you were like 20 pounds bigger, you'd start. And I was like, it's not like I was weak on the court either. Like I played strong, like I played physical. It didn't really inhibit me from anything, but it was just the visual aspect. Like I wasn't that tall and I wasn't that big, plus the brown card. So I tell guys for sure, like my biggest regret for sure is like guys hit the weight room. And like I was always vocal, so I know that helped me. And being like the hardest worker in the room, which is kind of like the mantra for Underdog Athletics as well, like you have to outwork everyone.
I feel that because what you said really resonates with me because like the first ever iteration of India Rising Brown Ballers was when we all like just drove down to New York and played in that 3-on-3 tournament at NFT NYC. And like I remember from the jump, like you making sure guys were vocal, making sure that people were confident when they entered that arena, which was like a pretty kind of wild space.
Mhm.
Any fun memories from that time?
No, that was like one of my favorite New York trips. Like I always tell people, I've been to New York like 4 times. Every time has been completely different. Like I just remember that one, just meeting like Kieran and Suk, like and Bully, like, and I knew Aryan, of course, but I got to know him better. Getting to stay with you as well. It was a cool experience. Like the court was really crazy. I remember it was really intense. Like we went from being very chill and calm to out of nowhere, like it was game time and we were in a huddle and the guys were locked in. Like I remember doing activation with the guys early to make sure they're warm because in an environment like that, you don't really get a warm up. So I remember our first game was intense. Like Kieran really showed up. I remember he shot the ball like crazy because it was
Yeah.
like you told me about all these guys, but I never saw them because we were talking about how like Canadian guys know Canadian guys and US guys know US guys. So
Yeah.
it was cool to see like, wow, like Kieran really impressed me. And then of course, like Aryan picked up as we went. It was a great experience. And then outside of the basketball, like I remember we went to the park and played pickup. Like
Yeah.
that was sick. Aryan was putting on like a dunk show. So we had some cool, it was like a special memory for me.
It's cool you point that out. Like I think in 2 years the divide is still there, but it's lessened between the Indo-Canadian and the
Yeah.
Indian American hoopers. Like people finally kind of know who each other are a little bit better, which is good.
Mhm.
You mentioned, I should go back to it, your coach coming up squeezing your arm.
Yeah.
Like I think players have different moments like that in their young careers, and that either, I don't want to say make or breaks, but it's like a definitive moment.
Yeah.
When that happened, like were you hype or were you upset? Like how did you process that? And
I
like what did you do
mean,
about it?
initially I was upset because I was like, I was killing that game. I remember like I was killing the practices beforehand and I was killing that game. So it was just one of those like, damn, like I can do everything right and still like they have something against me, right? And like I said, it wasn't like I was getting like bodied on like playing defense or rebounding, like I was getting moved around. It was just strictly a visual thing. So, but like I said, like you can either take that as and get upset and stay upset, or I took it just as motivation and started to get stronger, started to take it more serious, and also just kept playing better, working my ass off, basically.
I like how you're using visuals because like especially for fans, it's just like, oh, like analytics dominates the game. But like at the college or high school level, like what tech are you really using? You're probably using some tech, but it
Yeah.
is like visual scouting
Yeah.
and visual based decisions, right? Because
Mhm.
you're a coach, you tell me. Like, is that how a lot of stuff happens?
Yeah,
Or
like now that I'm behind the scenes and like on coaching staffs, I see how these coaches think, and some are better than the others. Like some will actually watch the game, like a player's game, and evaluate them with that. But then others or most are actually still like old school. Like they'll look at you as you walk in and kind of gauge what type of player you're going to be instead of looking at like IQ, heart, skill set. Like I'm big on skill set. You have to be if you're going to be a trainer, but skill set, like, but they'll look at like how much you weigh, your height, your wingspan, which is important. Don't get me wrong, but there's certain things like that stuff. Eventually, everyone catches up. Like eventually, you're gonna be playing everyone that's 6'6". So things like IQ and heart is very rare, and hunger. We call it motor.
yeah.
I look for motor in guys. So
But how do you assess someone's motor?
for me, it's like little things like as simple as when a coach blows the whistle, like who's sprinting to like when we're gathering up to a middle, like who's sprinting to it, loose balls, who's diving, sprints, who's trying to win every sprint. What other things for motor? Like in between reps, who's jogging and who's just walking. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
little things. Who's paying attention to details? Because even motor is like taking the drills as serious like these days. Because when I played, and it's not that long ago, I'm not that old. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
trying to
you're
be
not,
that
yeah,
old
you're
guy.
not, you're not some old head.
Yeah, but like even when I was playing, like we took everything serious from the drills to the warm up to the games. Like I feel like now I was actually at a tryout yesterday and I felt like everyone was just waiting for the games. Like I had a kid come up to me mid drill and be like, "When are we scrimmaging?" And I was like, "Yo, if I went up to my coach and said that, like we'd be on the line running." So motor is one of those things you just see from work ethic and their approach to the game.
That's real.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I
But there's no
mean,
numbers to it.
yeah, that's fair. You know, before flipping to the business side of Underdog, one more thing I want to run through is I think it's a good question to get sometimes when we're running the basketball team side of this, which is like, you know, what's the typical build or archetype of like brown basketball players? It's an
Mhm.
unfair question because
Mhm.
there's a lot of diversity within it. but
Yeah.
like you think back to like NBA, like Euros,
Mm-hmm.
and like stretch fours or
Yeah.
shooting bigs. It's like that was hypothetically like a very European thing that is now like
Mm-hmm.
entered the NBA. Now it's like pretty much everywhere around the league.
Yeah.
Do you find in all your training in Canada with like the hundreds plus of athletes you work with, like the
Yeah.
Brown players make up a certain build or try and emulate like
Yeah.
Steph Curry and just shoot
Mm-hmm.
threes? Like I don't have a good answer for it. So I'm curious if you think there's like
For me, I've seen like 3 different types of players, to be honest,
yeah.
from my experience. There's like bigs like Sook who are rare.
Yeah.
Sook, I can't name off the top, like Jazzman.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
guys that
yeah.
are more big, uh, working to be stretch fours, but play inside more, inside game. And then there's guys like Aryan, Kieran, TJ, and
Mhm.
Ishan, like that, like 6'6", 6'5", 6'6", that are either like shot creators or point guards.
Yeah.
And then there's the small guards who are the majority, like because we're not usually the tallest, but
Yeah.
like Jazz
Yeah.
Baines, guys like that who are
Guys
more
under 6.
guys who are around 6, under 6 that need to do everything above average. Like you have to
Yeah.
be good at everything just to keep up.
Yeah.
So there's like those guys, and then like Aryan's kind of a freak. Like I tell him all the time, like he's gifted in
Yeah.
that way. And then guys like Sook who are taller, bigger, who play more low post, pick and roll. So
Yeah.
those are the 3 I've kind of seen. Like we don't have a lot of small guards that are crazy athletic. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mhm.
always our wings that are athletic, and then our bigs are usually heavier, but like they're low post guys, screen and roll. So that's kind of the 3 I see.
So we're trying to obviously with the platform help younger players get scouted and help them
Mhm.
make that jump from high school to college.
Yeah.
And one of the big feedback we get with the talent agency is when we're sending game film or resumes and all that stuff, where's this guy's explosiveness?
Mm.
And like whether explosiveness is a result of fitness or genetics doesn't matter. That's the thing that dings a lot of guys. Like, oh, he's skilled but not explosive enough as a guard.
Mhm.
How do you overcome that as a player? Because you're not going to get explosive between your senior year and college,
Yeah.
right? Like you just are who you are.
Mhm. So from a young age, what I started doing now, because that's a big thing. The other thing they'll say for brown guys a lot is they don't play defense. That's a big one. They
Which
just
is
say,
probably is it? I mean,
it's connected.
yeah, it's
It's
fine.
connected to
yeah,
explosiveness. But
yeah.
I feel like sometimes it's a bailout. They'll just say it because they don't want to take guys. But anyways, to answer your question, for young guys, I would say start early. Like I have my guys doing like med ball slides, like taking them to the hills, sand workouts, like because a lot of it is genetic. But if you start early enough, you can kind of
I
get a
think a
head
lot of
start.
it is genetic, right?
It is.
So we should like call out that elephant in the room.
Yeah, it has to be because there's certain people that do like I tell like my girlfriend to this day, like I'll be working out all the time and I see a guy do push-ups like one time and he's just ripped. So there is a genetic factor, but for older guys, what I would say is yes, continue to work on your explosiveness, but like start to study more like angles. Like if your defensive slide is slow, instead of trying to get faster, like watch guys who are good defenders that are slow, like Europeans. Like they're not the fastest,
Yeah.
but they take good angles. They're strong. Like I always say, if you lack speed and explosiveness, get stronger, because when a guy tries to drive by you and if you bump him and you're stronger, you'll slow him down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or if you study the game a lot and you know offensive moves, because I say good defenders know offense really well because you know what the guy in front of you is going to do. So if I know offense very well, I can become a better defender. And then on the offensive end, you just got to watch guys like Luka, James Harden. Like they're not the fastest guys, but they change speed well. Like their explosiveness is different. They're not just one speed. You can make yourself look fast by knowing how to change speeds. Like you can trick the eye to make people think you're fast. But Luka is not fast. James Harden's not fast anymore. So that's kind of what
until he gets traded.
Yeah.
We'll leave that for later.
Yeah.
You work in basketball 24/7, 365, but also pays you. Like this is a job. That's the hard thing for a lot of people. How do I get my passion to pay me? Especially when you're being an entrepreneur in sports.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to talk through numbers,
Mhm.
but how do you get that to work out? Because that's the dream for a lot of people, what you're doing.
No, 100%. Like I was just talking to a guy I work with the other day. He's like part of the team. I was just telling him like I have friends that, because we're kind of like, I guess, in a mini recession, I would say, but I have some friends that are getting like laid off and stuff like that. So I'm grateful because I technically, like, you kind of know what a job is coming out of school right now, salary rise. Like I'm able to get that from basketball. It's very rare, especially in Canada.
Because a lot of
Like,
competition. Like people
yeah.
love basketball in
And honestly,
Canada.
the government and the organizations don't put money into it either. So
Yeah.
I feel like if you're able to make a decent living through basketball, like it's very rare. Like I heard the numbers like 50K is the cap usually. Like to
What
say
for annual
for
revenue?
a very good coach would be like 50K. Yeah.
For your annual
Yeah,
salary.
for your annual salary. So to be in basketball full time and right away, it's very special. Me though, like I never took a single business course to talk about the business side, but I was always good with people. So I just figured out ways to study the market. I had what I did was I shadowed a trainer already. Still like I still shadow him to this day. And he kind of taught me the ropes a little bit. Like I said, studying the market. Me too. Like right now, for the level I'm at, like I could be charging more.
Yeah,
But the
okay.
thing is, I always say, like, if I was coming up right now, would I be able to afford my training? You know what I mean? So that's something I keep close to myself. Like, yes, I also can't lag behind and not get paid what I'm worth, but also I think about like a 15-year-old version of me who didn't grow up with too much. Would I be able to pay for like my own training? So
Yeah.
it's kind of that balance of yes, you got to make money, but also like there could be a gem of a kid who needs me because it's more than just basketball. It's a life thing.
Right.
Who needs like a mentor? So if I can keep it affordable for them, like that makes me feel better, if you know what I mean.
No, totally. No, it's
Mhm.
just like you want to give a service that if
Mhm.
you were in their shoes, you'd be able to
Yeah.
take as well.
Mhm.
Like if you had a pie chart of like the business of your basketball business, like
Mhm.
it's obviously paying for sessions.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
else makes
Yeah,
that
so I
up?
do like my breakdown is pretty simple. I think everyone kind of does it. I kind of have my drop-in group sessions. I have these things called semi-privates for smaller groups and then individual sessions. They all got different breakdowns of price compared to what you pay for the gym. And then on top of that, I do teamwork. So now I'm working with the club this year in Milton. I've worked with prep teams before, and that will be like a team contract.
Skills training for the team or coaching for
I've
the
done
team
both.
or both?
I've
Yeah.
done this year. I'm focusing more on skills training, but last year I was doing coaching, as you know. And
Yeah.
then for me as well, because I didn't want to stay stagnant. And while I was in university playing and in school, I actually worked intramurals as well. So I learned leagues as too. So I started my own league to also get revenue going.
The Underdog
Yeah,
League,
the
right?
Underdog League. So
If you guys haven't seen the Underdog League, like this thing might be the closest thing to All Star Weekend that's not with All Star players possible. Like players are mic'd up.
yeah.
There's an All Star Weekend. The highlights go crazy on social. So where can people find you?
Well, we actually have our website, like underdogleague.com. That's kind of where we hold our stats and all that. And actually, my actual business website is under construction. It's funny, like Aryan's actually doing it. Like
Aryan's the
Aryan,
web developer
yeah, man,
now.
he's good. I'm gonna give him a shout out.
He's
Shout
a
out Aryan.
he's a player. He's gonna go overseas, and he's a web
And a
developer
YouTube star,
and a
apparently.
YouTube
Yeah,
vlogger.
yeah. So
Yeah,
he's
he was
actually making
vlogging.
he's
Yeah,
making my website right now. I sent him like a little breakdown of kind of what I want because
that's why he's busy today.
yeah.
He's like, I'm only free at 5. I was like, okay.
Yeah, so he's kind of revamping it for me, and yeah. So for Underdog League, like it's so many benefits. Yes, it's another source of income. Me, I'm big on. I love sports, like all sports. Like
Yeah,
I believe in playing in sports early and later. Like I don't believe like just because you finish playing high school or college that you should stop playing. Like I think there should be something competitive and something worth worth playing for after. So I took it very serious. I always used to say when I ran intramurals, like if I ever had control of this, I'd do it way better. So I took
yeah.
everything I couldn't do while I was working for the university or intramurals. I learned a lot. I'm not trying to shit on them or
Then
anything,
I got you.
but for the league, like I added everything. Like I tried to make it like basically like an NBA experience.
Yeah,
Stats, photos, videos,
box score. Yeah,
box
all
scores,
that.
exactly.
Most
Proper.
no, most like amateur leagues don't do that.
Yeah, like that's what I heard. So as we were doing it, and my biggest thing was as I was growing up and playing in like local gyms, I connected with a lot of people. And if you're a good player and keep good relationships, like later on, 10 years later, I have guys who I met when I was 15, I'm about to be 25, who are playing in the league just because of one run I had with them back in the day. So
Wow.
it's pretty cool. Like we've had multiple divisions. Like we probably get 10 teams with 8 to 9 players for one division alone. So we're doing pretty well. So
That's
that's to
awesome.
add to the pie chart. Like that's a pretty good
Yeah.
source of income for me. But also what I like about that is I can put on people around me. So I'm big on getting the people that are close to me work. So I have one of my
Yeah.
closest friends who works with me. My brother works with me. My cousin works with me. My girlfriend does all the social media for us. So it's a good feeling to not only be able to make money for myself through basketball, but to help other people. So
That's strong. That's like really strong. Like you're uplifting everyone. Before we like wrap things up, I want to dive into your relationship with Aryan because a lot of the people watching this will know who he is, watch the games, etc. You have been his guy, his trainer for
we met 2020 summer. So yeah, it's 3 years at least. Yeah.
like how does that work? Because like how did you guys meet? And like you've had a big relationship for a long time. Like I'm just curious like what that looks
Yeah,
like.
so it's funny with him. So we grew up in Milton together. Like I
Mm,
moved there a little later, but he moved about the same time. He's 2 years younger than me, and it's crazy. I tell him this always. Like growing up, I never saw him anywhere, any court, or played against him anywhere.
yeah.
And he was playing like outside and at runs. Me too. I was doing the same. Never bumped into him. It was actually when I went to university. I came back to watch my cousin, and he was playing against Aryan. And Aryan will remember, but he dunked on a guy basically. And I
Yeah.
was like, I asked my cousin after, like, who is this? He told me it's Aryan. And then fast forward another 2 years, he just finds me because a guy he went to high school with, I was training. He saw the videos, he reached out, and then from there, like we just kept growing the relationship. Started strictly basketball, helped him get better, but then like we always just had a good vibe.
You just hit it off.
Yeah, yeah, we
Yeah.
just hit it off right away.
And you also train his younger brother.
Yes. And then Ishan, the story, like it's always changed. Like Aryan says he showed Ishan about me, but Ishan said it was like one of his other friend. He'll never give his bro credit.
Okay.
But he brought his brother one day, and Aryan was killing since the day I saw him. Like Aryan was always good. For me, for Aryan, it was just refining skills,
Mm-hmm.
adding little stuff because Aryan had like I call it an old school 2 guard game. Like
Yeah.
one dribble pull ups, two dribble pull ups, post ups, catch and shoot, dunking. But for me with Aryan, it was like increasing his ball handling, um, tougher shot making, shooting, like getting him more volume reps so his shot gets better. With Ishan, it was more development, like true development. Like Aryan, yeah, like I helped him going left. I'll continue to help him going left.
Yeah.
But like it was more refinement, but with Ishan, it was more development. So I remember the first day he came, like I don't want to give my cousin any shit, but he basically told me because I was like, "How's his brother?" And he's like, "Yo, like he's not really that good."
Mm.
And then I saw him and I was like, "Bro, he's gonna be fucking good." How old is he? He's like 14.
Yeah.
So when I saw him, it was just like I knew the kid was gonna be special. It's not one of those looking back, like you can ask him then. Like I was telling him. So after that, they both started coming heavily because it was COVID. So we had a good like year and a half originally because they were home. They didn't get to go to school because
Mm.
everything was getting shut
Yeah.
down and open. So we had a good run then. And then since then, like they've been family. Like I go to their house all the
Yeah.
time. We chill in their basement, cool with their parents. Ishan's actually at Yale right now. I was supposed to go with him, but just things didn't work out.
Yeah.
But like it's crazy to see like Aryan leading scorer, U Sports. Ishan's about to be a Division 1 player in no time. So
Yeah, no, their trajectory is like
it's
crazy.
crazy,
Like it's a
so-
crazy jump. So that's why I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because if they were already like super hype, there
Yeah,
isn't
then
much
I would-
there isn't
yeah.
much to talk about in terms of player development. Like I feel like you're a large part of that and they
Mhm.
say that and it's just awesome to get to meet like cuz you oftentimes meet the players but you don't meet the coaches or the skills trainers.
Yeah.
Um so what do you want to leave the audience with because I think a lot of people that watch this platform are really looking for guidance on basketball training. Like they're at that 14 through 18 age range and they're figuring out like, okay, so what do I need to do to like take my game to the next level? So where can they find you?
Yeah, so what I can say now, or to find me, you can find me at Underdog Athletics 30. Like I post all my training on my stories all the time. I don't really do like the instructional content, even though Nav's been on me to do that. I
Yeah.
got to do it still. But I post on my stories all the time, so you can see all the drills, the players. On my page, we try to post stuff every now and then. I got to get better with the drills, but my advice for players would just be number one, like there's this thing happening right now where kids are going to team practices and thinking that's enough. That's like a big misconception. My big thing is if the only work you're doing is in practice, you'll never make it. I don't care who you are. Like you're not going to make it to what your potential should be. So biggest thing would be always try to outwork everyone. That's number one. Just try to outwork everyone. So if that means getting extra skill sessions, working out on your own. I'm big on that. Like I tell everyone I train that sees me 2-3 times a week, like if this is the only time you're training, it's not going to work. Like you should be taking what you're learning here and applying it on your own. That's so, of course, cover your skill set, hit the weight room. We had that talk. And another big thing that I'm seeing the younger generation not do as much is watching film, like just watching basketball. I talk to kids all the time. Like me, I was an NBA junkie growing up. I used to watch it all the time. And I think that's how I got so refined, because there's so many moves I teach kids now that I didn't learn until I was like 23, but it's because I watched so much basketball that even when these new moves started coming out, like, because stuff that I was learning when I was 13 is not what I'm teaching. Like, I tell guys all the time, like, I'm teaching a 9-year-old stuff I learned like 2 years ago. So, but because I watched so much film, it helped me adjust quickly. So, film, skill work, weight room, and just outwork everyone. And be a good person. Like, no one likes an asshole. Like, honestly, I don't like working with people that are just rude and don't want to get better.
Because that exists a lot.
100%.
The vibe is like, I have to be like this, I have to be tough to like make it in sports.
Yeah,
it's like a weird thing. Yeah.
I don't know if someone said this before me, but I started saying this, like, uncoachable players become like unemployable adults. So I've been big on teaching kids at a young age, because I'll see like an 18-year-old kid that I had nothing to do with a bad attitude, and I'll be like, oh, that's on the coach, because they didn't nip that in the butt early enough. Like, he's not trying, he's not going hard, because at an early age, no one held him accountable. So, and once you get to the real world, like, no one likes those people.
It's a big line to drop.
Yeah.
No, well, appreciate you. Thanks for coming on the pod to let us into all the insights around player development, your journey. I think it's super cool for people to hear about building a career in basketball, like paying yourself through a passion. That's the biggest thing on this pod, is trying to get people aware of those careers, aware of those paths, and finding your life's like goals. So until next time, man, appreciate you.
I appreciate you, G. Thank you.